Welcome to the Sports on Tap NEO High School Football Show. Be sure to join the conversation by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter at SOT Podcast. Use the hashtag SOT HSF. Here are your hosts, Rob Troutman, Josh Jeffy, Ed Dick, and Sean Duffy.
Good evening. Welcome, everyone, to Sports on Tap. I am Ed Dick alongside Sean Duffy. Josh Jeffy. Rob Troutman is out on a very, very important assignment, probably one of the more important ones in life. So the three of us are holding it down here in Studio J. Look like you have a comment there, Sean.
Well, I mean, certainly important, but it's not as important as me trying to win a championship in fantasy football.
No, I would.
All right. Well, that was a mistake going to Sean.
Yeah.
For Rob's benefit and for the benefit of all of mankind, Rob did a good deed today.
Yes.
He did. He did a very good deed.
It's his wife's birthday, everyone.
Yes.
So he's hanging out at home with her, and that's probably the better place to be, and not here with us.
100% true. All right, we're going over the regional finals here. This is week 3 of the Ohio High School Athletic Association football playoffs. We are now down to every division's final 4, and we do have 3 games to recap from the teams that we cover collectively here, and we'll start. We'll get into it right away. Division 1, Region 1. Josh. Get us going here with your game.
Yes, it was a rematch of an earlier contest between that of St. Ed's and Menor. Menor is the top-ranked team in Division I Region 1. St. Ed's came in the 7th-ranked team. And earlier this season, Menor came away with a very hard-fought 42-39 victory over the Eagles. So St. Ed's looking for a little bit of revenge coming in to this regional final. We're just going to start off in the first quarter, and St. Ed's got off to an early start. It was quarterback Garrett DeZuro with a 16-yard pass to Mackenzie Wainwright to put the Eagles up 7-0. Then later on in the first, St. Ed's hit it with a 28-yard field goal, and that ended the first quarter 10-0. And St. Edward's would not look back as they would have the lead throughout this ball game. But midway through the second quarter, Menor got on board. Quarterback Ian Kipp with a 30-yard pass to Luke Floria, and that made the score 10-7, and that's how the score remained going into halftime. Start of the third quarter, St. Ed's running back Jordan Castleberry got on the board with a TD run. And then later on to go into the fourth quarter, DeZuro had a rushing touchdown, which ended up being the final touchdown for the Eagles. They were up 24-7, and then later on in the fourth, it was Kip DeFloria again for 27 yards, and that made the score 24-14, and that would end up being the final score as St. Edward's would move on to the state semifinals. And once again, they never trailed in this game. They relied heavily on the rushing game, 259 yards total rushing for St. Edward's. They were led by Jordan Castleberry. He had 24 carries, 137 yards, and a touchdown. Quarterback Garrett DeZuro, he had 106 yards rushing in this one. For the Cardinals, all year they had a really, really good rushing attack, but you have to give credit to the St. Edward's defense in this game. They held the Menor offense to 65 total yards of rushing. Ian Kipp had 23 yards on 15 carries. Running back Brian Trobel had 11 carries for 41 yards. Ian Kipp in the air threw for 216 yards and 2 touchdowns, but once again, it was not enough for the Cardinals, and St. Edward's got their revenge as they move on to the state semifinals, and they will actually play Olentangy Liberty as they will go into this Friday, the 23rd, at 7 p.m.
And that game will be played at Mansfield Arlen Field, right smack dab in the middle between the Cleveland area and the Columbus area. Powell, Olentangy Liberty 9-4. They were the the Region 2 champions for Division 1. And then if we go to the other semifinal, the Region 3 champion and defending Division 1 state champion Pickerington Central, 11-2 overall. They will play Cincinnati Coleraine, 13-0. That game will also be Friday night, 7 p.m. kickoff from Piqua High School.
That's going to be a good matchup between those two teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got the heavy hitters of heavy hitters here in Division 1, in the Division 1 with the state champions still standing here. So, they're all trying to knock off Pickerington Central, and Colerain's going to get the first shot at them.
Well, it's interesting because it's kind of funny the way St. Ed's season kind of played out a little bit. Lost to Mentor early in the season, lost to St. Ignatius late in the season, was able to revenge both those losses in the playoffs, and now they're moving on to the state Final Four against an Olentangy team that's probably, it's a very good team. Obviously, you don't get here unless you're good. There's at a certain point, luck runs out. You got to be good to get where we're at here in the state Final Four. And these are the big boys. These are Division I schools. These are the ones where people pay attention to, and it should be very, very interesting to see how St. Edwards continues its momentum because, again, they're no stranger to this. Yeah, they're usually in the state semifinals. Their expectation is to be in the state finals every year, so this is just another stepping stone. And I think all four of these programs have that championship pedigree. We're not seeing newbies in this Final Four. These are teams that are entrenched in Division I for most of the year, for most of the decade, really. So it's not necessarily new to any of these teams. So now you're going to really see who is the better team and not shrinking in the moment.
Josh, as Mentor closes their season, as far as you're concerned, what do they have? What do they have coming back, and what do you think what can they take from this loss going forward?
Well, Mentor puts out the talent. We all know Ian Kipp is a sophomore. He's coming back. He's going to be there leading that offensive charge. And if you look at a game like this, they just played a really good team and a team that is very well coached and had a good scheme. I mean, let's face it, when you get to this late in the playoffs, especially for teams like Mentor and St. Ed's, they've played each other so many times. They know what's going to happen, and it's just a matter of, we talked about it last week, execution. And it turns out the St. Ed's defense executed a lot better than the Mentor offense, and they just didn't have enough big plays. They couldn't establish that running game to really go ahead and play a little better than they did. But, coming back, they got those guys. Brian Trobel's going to be coming back. He's going to be leading the rushing attack along with some of the young guys that they have. They have a lot of guys on the offensive line that are Big Ten recruits. But, Mentor, they build and they develop talent every year. So as those seniors leave to go, same thing on the defensive end. As they go, they're going to have young guys right behind them that need to step in and fill the roles. And Coach Trevisano has that ability, and he has for years, to develop that talent, move it right in.
Yeah, a tremendous season for Mentor. Obviously, co-champions of the Greater Cleveland Conference.
And I'm sure they're disappointed for sure,
of course,
being ranked the top seed in the region. But still, it's a pretty successful season, just not probably what they wanted.
Hard to beat the same team twice. I mean, that's what it comes down to, really. Now, like we said last week as we left, St. Ed's had tapes. They have tape on how Mentor is running their offense. Now, granted, it's 11, 12 weeks old, but the basics are still there. The mistakes that you made in the first game are able to be corrected, and now you can make adjustments on the fly. And I think that's, hats off to the St. Ed's coaching staff for getting their team ready to play, understanding what happened in week 2, and, understanding they had an opportunity and firing their kids up to let them know, hey, we got an opportunity to revenge that loss. As far as they're concerned, they're undefeated this year with, St. Ignatius being beaten in the first round, and now Mentor in the regional finals. They're off to the state Final Four, and congratulations to them. But yeah, you're right. Mentor has a real. I mean, it's success begets success out there, and that's exactly what it is. So they will lose kids, as every program does, but they have a great bedrock of talent out there that they can just reload and maybe have a little bit of fallout, but not quite as severe as some other teams we've seen in recent years.
All right, so Division One will continue their state semifinals at neutral sites before they reconvene in Canton in 2 weeks. Those times are to be determined. All right, we will shift our focus to Division Two, where we had 2 teams still standing in their respective regional finals. Rob, covering the Southwestern Conference, once again is on assignment. My cohort, my compadre, my colleague, Sean Duffy is graciously stepping in for Rob. Rob did a great job with the recap, and it will be orated by Sean.
This is weird because I never talked this early in the thing. But yeah, so Division II, Region 6, we saw the number 1 seeded and undefeated Toledo Central Catholic coming in at a perfect 12-0. As they take on the number 3 seeded 11-1 Avon Eagles. And early on, it was Avon quarterback Ryan Malloy connecting with wide receiver Ryan Jones twice to jump out to a 16-0 lead. Malloy was not done as he was able to hurt the Irish with his legs as well, rushing 17 times for 151 yards and a pair of touchdowns as well. At halftime, Avon led 30-7, and again, this was just another testament to the Eagles' defense as they had a pick 6 and were dominating the Irish for the entirety of the first half. Moving on to the second half, oh God, I lost my place now. See, I'm not used to this. I'm not used to it. Toledo Central Catholic stopped Avon on its opening drive of the second half. Then Irish running back Jace Bowen made it 30-14 with a 42-yard touchdown run, and the Irish turned the Avon's lone fumble into a touchdown. This is an 8-yard run by quarterback Troy Durden right before the end of the third quarter. The Irish were able to convert on a 2-point conversion and made the score 30-22 as the beginning of the fourth quarter. The Eagles would respond with it and suck 10 minutes off the play clock in a drive, including several third and fourth down conversions to score on the running back Mark Steinmetz's 4-yard touchdown run. That would make it 37-22, and that's how the game would end. Avon advances to the state semifinals, defeating the number 1 Toledo Central Catholic Irish 37-22. They will take on Akron Archbishop Hoban, the defending state Division II state champions. Congratulations to head coach Mike Elder and the Avon Eagles on another regional final win and advancing to state semifinals. Here are the pairings for Division II.
Hold on.
Oh God,
we're
not there yet. Sorry, my bad. We're gonna move on now to Division II, Region 7.
Yes.
As it pertains to Mr. Ed Dick's team, he covers the Wadsworth Grizzlies.
Thank you, Sean. Rob's trying to give us a little bit of heartburn here by jumping ahead, but, good thing.
I just read what was on the page. I'm not used to being on the mic
I
this
forgot
early.
we had Ron Burgundy over here.
Listen, it's 7:45. Everyone knows that I'm not good until about 8:30. This is what happens. That's why I don't like the state semifinal show.
All right, thank you, Sean. So the Division II Region 7 finals featured 2 undefeated teams, 12-0 Massillon, Washington, otherwise known as the Massillon Tigers, took on the Wadsworth Grizzlies, the two-time defending Southwest or Suburban. Well, they could probably win the Southwestern Conference too. Avon will have something to say about that. And Avon Lake. Suburban League National Division champions also coming in at 12-0. This game took place at North Canton Hoover Memorial Stadium, and this was a battle. It went about how Wadsworth wanted it to go. A lot of advancement on the ground. They were able to eat up yardage early in the game, and they needed to do that to keep the potent Massillon Washington offense off the field here. Massillon struck first with a 53-yard touchdown pass from Aiden Longwell to Jaden Ballard. Wadsworth quickly countered with a 20-yard touchdown pass from junior quarterback Trey Schaefer to Tyler Montgomery. Blake Toronto's kick was good, 7-7. Just minutes into the second quarter, Bauer connected on a 32-yard field goal. Toronto answered with his first field goal of the year from 25 yards out. It was 10-10. Unfortunately for the Grizzlies, it was a 84-yard kick return for a touchdown by Kaishad Mack. So that tie game was short-lived. The Wadsworth was able to drive it down the field, but unfortunately Toronto missed a 26-yard field goal just before the end of the half, and the Tigers took quick advantage. They were able to score on a 12-yard pass to Jameer Thomas from Longwell, and that made the score 24-10 at half. And instead of being down potentially 17-13 at the half, the Grizzlies found themselves down 24-10. What ended up a lot of things that happened here, unfortunately, was they were stopped on fourth down. They were not able to, when they got into the red zone, they just weren't able to capitalize. And unfortunately, against a team the caliber of Massillon, Washington, you need to score touchdowns. Field goals just aren't going to do it. Wadsworth did get a safety. They had they tackled Zion Pfeiffer in the end zone to bring him within 27-12. Then Bauer answered with another 32-yard field goal into the third quarter. Dean Clark caught a 24-yard pass from Aiden Longwell to extend the lead out a little bit further for the Tigers. Brock Snowball was able to bring it back in. Then Adric Ford caught a 39-yard touchdown pass from Aiden Longwell. Aiden Longwell had himself a game, 4 touchdown passes. He was 17-24, 305 yards. 3 different players totaled more than 100 yards from scrimmage: Jameer Thomas, Jalen Ballard, and Adric Ford. And it was a 41-19 victory for the Massillon Tigers. They will advance in the Division II state championship, winning Region 7. And looking at this game a little bit, the Grizzlies did exactly what they wanted to do. They held almost a 34 to 14 minute advantage as far as time of possession is concerned, which is exactly what they wanted to do. And they were able to use the ground game very efficiently. Brock Snowball had 21 carries for 93 yards himself. Dom Laparo, 25 carries, 111 yards. He also caught 2 for 60. And then Trey Schaefer was his steady self, 10 for 18 passing, 150 yards. But they just weren't able to capitalize on opportunities. And unfortunately for the Grizzlies, their season does come to an end. I think when we talked about the Buckeye recap last week, 2 weeks ago, when last week, when they just happened to come up against what most would perceive to be a better team, Buckeye just wasn't able to hang. Mm-hmm. And I think talent-wise, Wadsworth probably has a little bit on the Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies did everything they could to make it in their favor, and they sure did. They just couldn't capitalize on opportunity. And with that comes the end of their season. So as Sean was just about to allude to, he did mention the matchup for Avon. They will be taking on Akron Archbishop Hoban. That game will be played here in Brunswick Automart Stadium. Big matchup there. Division 2 Region 6 winner taking on the Division 2 Region 5 winner. Akron Archbishop Hoban was a 52-6 winner over Shack Washington coached Maple Heights. That was another 12-0 versus 12-0 battle. The similar theme there. Maple Heights was able to get into Hoban territory 4 different times, but unfortunately penalties just kept pushing them back.
They're a killer.
And they weren't able to keep up with the Knights of Archbishop Hoban. So 52-6 victory there. And then Massillon, Washington will advance to play Cincinnati Winton Woods. They were the 2009 Division II state champion. They do run a very powerful triple option offense. Lots of running the ball, lots of speed, lots of strength. That game will be played at Kahana Lincoln High School. 7 o'clock kickoff. That will be next Friday. And once again, the Akron Archbishop Hoban will take on Avon at Brunswick High School. 7 p.m. kickoff on Friday the 23rd.
And so ends the run of most of our teams, with the exception of the Southwestern Conference, with Avon surviving into the state semifinal.
We had a pretty good run this year.
Some of us. Yeah.
We did.
None of my teams did. I was on vacay coming.
That's all right.
Week 2.
Good thing there's always next season.
That's true.
And there may be some shuffling and realignment
Could be.
of the coverage that we give. So stay tuned for that.
I think we're going to have a sit-down meeting at a local establishment, really hammer out the details of how that works.
I'm sure that'll happen.
Just put that out there so that any wives that are listening understand that it's business. We gotta handle business. This show doesn't produce itself.
Kind of does.
He's sitting right there.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying. It
everything
doesn't
saying.
produce himself. We gotta figure out cues and research, and I mean, I'm trying to make sure we get all on the same page.
Yeah,
you know?
vacation's good.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll quickly go through the. We'll start with Division III. We'll go over what the state semifinal matchups will look like, and we'll add in as we see fit. We did have a local team in Division III, Chagrin Falls Kenson, who previously defeated Medina Buckeye last week. They did defeat Canfield for the Division III Region 9 championship. That earns them a game against Columbus Eastmore Academy. That game will be played at New Philadelphia's football field. That game will take place Friday night at 7 p.m. The winner of that will take on the winner of Kettering Archbishop Alter, 12-1 overall. They will take on 10-3 Norwalk. That game will kick off next Friday night at 7 p.m. from Wabakaneta Harmon Field there. So good luck to the Bombers from Chagrin Falls. There's a big win over Canfield, and hopefully they can bring something home for the Northeast Ohio region. So,
yeah, I mean, you look at a team like Archbishop Alter. For the last 10 years that I can remember, they're always running that division, whether it's Division 2 or Division 3. They kind of flip flop a little bit with there, but they're always in it, and they're always competitive. And I look for them to perhaps make it on, because they've just been really impressive in this playoff run. They're impressive every year. So congratulations to that team. I know that's a big thing for them at Kettering Archbishop Alter is one of the parochial schools in the Dayton area, similar to Chaminade Julienne and John Carroll High School. So those are pretty much the Dayton area school. That's a Dayton area school, so give them some love, even though
yeah,
I don't like doing it. It makes me feel icky.
Fair enough. You got Division 4, Sean.
Division 4. I was actually just there. Yes. Is St. Mary's Memorial will be taking on Cincinnati, Wyoming. That will be Saturday night at Piqua High School, and they will take on the winner of Girard versus Newark Licking Valley. That game also Saturday night at Dover Crater Stadium. Those two teams, again, St. Mary's Memorial is 12-1. Cincinnati, Wyoming is 13-0. Girard checks in at 12-1, and Newark Licking Valley is 10-3 on the year. So I guess they would be the lone underdog in that particular state, in the state semis here. So we'll see how that plays out, and then we'll move on to Division 5.
Yeah, I got Division 5 there, Sean. Looking at starting with the champions of Region 17 in Division 5, Orville topped Akron Manchester 43-19 to move on to the state semifinal. Region 18, we had a great game. Liberty Center narrowly defeated Genoa area 43-40. Moving on to Region 19 in Division 5. Another decent game if you're Johnstown Monroe, as they come around. They're the number 1 ranked team in Region 19. They had a 45-14 victory over Byesville Meadowbrook. And then the fourth and final region in Division 5, we have Wheelersburg. They were the number 1 seed. They defeated Middletown. Madison was the number 2 seed, 24-16, and a highly contested matchup there. So the state semifinals goes on as this. Liberty Center will take on Orville at Perkins High School. That game will start at 7 o'clock. And in the other game, Johnstown Monroe will take on Wheelersburg, and that'll take place at Maslin Jackson High School. Some good quality matchups there in Division 5.
Shout out to Orville, the Red Riders out there. My old roommate Chad Teague, former kicker from Mount Union. He was a proud alum of Orville there. So congratulations to Orville and their big win there. All right, I'll take care of Region 6. We had a local flavor matchup here. 12-0 Kirtland, the number 2 seed, took on 11-1 Mogador. The irresistible force against the immovable object here. Kirtland, for once, gave up more than 7 points in a game. This game was tied 14-14 going into the last minute. Joey Torak rushed it in from 3 yards out, giving Kirtland a 20-14 victory. and they will advance to the state semifinals. They win Division II, Region 21. Congratulations to the Hornets there. Division 6, Region 22. 11-1, Attica Seneca East took on 9-3 Sherwood Fairview. Attica Seneca East gets a 26-21 win to win Division 6, Region 22. They advance to the state semifinals. In Division 6, Region 23, the number 4 seed Shadyside, 10-2 overall, took on undefeated Beverly Fort Fry. They were the number 2 seed in this region. Fort Fry with an 18-6 victory over Shadyside. They will advance to the state semifinals. And finally, for Division 6, Region 24, a couple of teams that Coach Finch will hopefully get himself acquainted with if he's once he gets to the playoffs. Old hat here, Coldwater, 10-2 overall, the number 1 seed. They took on number 3 seed Maria Stein Marion Local, 11-1 overall. Marion Local gets this one, 40-19.
Ooh.
They will advance to the state semifinals. So looking into our into the state semifinals, Beverly Fort Fry, they are 12-0 overall. They will take on Kirtland. That game will take place at Jackson High School, Robert Fife Stadium. Kickoff Friday night at 7 p.m. Attica Seneca East, 12-1 overall, will take on Maria Stein Marion Local, 12-1 overall. That game will kick off Friday night at 7 p.m. from Lima Spartan Stadium.
Yeah, and we're moving right on to Division 7. Another local flavor team here, Cuyahoga Heights, earning their second straight trip to the state semifinals with a 35-20 victory over Warren John F. Kennedy. Again, Cuyahoga Heights will move on to the state semifinals. In Region 26, it had Macomb taking on Edgerton, and Macomb was able to capture the victory 33-18 over Edgerton. They move on to the state semifinal as well. In Region 27, we had the Lucas team taking on Gloucester Trimble, and Gloucester Trimble was able to win by 1 touchdown here, 21-14, to win their regional final. Finally, in Region 28, we had Fort Laramie versus the team from Convoy Crestview, and it was Fort Laramie 48-20 in this one, and they will secure their spot in the state semifinals. So at this point in time for Division 7, we're looking at Fort Laramie going to take on Macomb. That will be Saturday night at 7 p.m. at Wapakoneta Harmon Field, and Cuyahoga Heights will face Gloucester Trimble at Highland High School Marengo for Saturday night at 7 p.m., and the winner of that obviously plays each other in the state final. So congratulations to the Redskins of Cuyahoga Heights. Friend of show, Ryan Kelber, the AD out there. He's got to be pumped for his school in the state semifinals again for the second straight year.
Yes, not a bad as first year as athletic director in Cuyahoga Heights. Not bad. The final football team made it to the state Final Four. So congrats and good luck. Good luck to the Cuyahoga Heights Redskins.
So a big thing that we see that we are starting to that we have already seen is that. And at least for some of the local games that we covered, are when you have an opportunity to score, you need to score.
Yeah.
You cannot leave points on the board, whether you miss it on 4th down or whether you turn it over or just have penalties. That bit Wadsworth, it bit Maple Heights.
Well, in the way that the teams now and it's kind of football in general, the way that offenses are quick hitting. Big plays, a lot of movement when it comes to offensive schemes. Teams now can score quickly. It's not like the old school ground and pound. I mean, it still is like that, but it seems that these coaches had developed running schemes that add up to big chunks and big plays, long touchdown scores, and they happened real quick. We saw that in the playoff game that we covered, Worcester and Wadsworth. That whole, virtually the whole second half of that game, the third quarter at least, was nothing but offense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way that the game is. Whether that's, we can get into a conversation later, whether that's rule changes, how tackling now is coached and taught. Maybe it's not taught as well, or who knows, but the offenses are picking up, and that's a fact.
Well, I think you also look at the situations of a lot of these teams that are successful in the playoff runs are successful because they're able to score points, like Ed said, when they have the opportunity. But it's also they're able to limit the opportunities that they allow the opponents. So many times we say, they just didn't take advantage of those opportunities. Well, you also have to take your hats off to the defense. You stop somebody on 4th and goal, that's a huge stop for a defense. It's a momentum changer for most of the game, and that gives you the opportunity to know that you can do it again, and that gives confidence, and confidence builds on confidence. And what you can do from that standpoint on the defensive side of the ball is, I think, as important, if not more important, because look, the way the rules are set up, the way that the football is now, is that everybody, if they run their play to perfection, is gonna score a touchdown. That's just the way these plays are drawn up. Defenses have to be careful on how they defend, because obviously they more likely to get penalized. But if you're able to play fundamentally sound defense, you are a team that nobody can play with. And I think we're seeing that in some of these regions. Specifically, I would say more so in the St. Ed's in the Division I game. Mentor's been putting up points all year. Ian Kipp has been lighting teams on fire, and what happened here? St. Ed's is like, look, we're not going to let them beat us. We're going to play sound defensive principles, and they did that, and they were able to limit the opportunities that Mentor had to score. And Mentor was a team all year that would just put bunches and bunches of points on them. St. Ed's figured that out and stopped them. And when you stop a team that's used to putting up points at will, sometimes it acts as a punch to the face.
Yeah, and I think kind of with what happened during that game is, you're kind of right, Sean, to the fact that they didn't let Mentor's running game, Ian Kipp, Brian Trobel, among others, beat them. So they really stacked the box a little bit. They let them pass. I mean, Kipp did have 2 touchdown passes to Luke Floria, over 200 yards passing, but they just didn't get enough on their bread and butter, which is that running game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big key there, and that was one of the things that was a huge key to that game. Is could Mentor or could St. Ed stop Mentor's run game and force Ian Kipp as a sophomore to win it with his arm? And we saw the results of that in Division I, Region 1. So the state semifinals are set, as we've just gone over. All state final games will be played next week. They will all take place from Tom Benson Stadium in Canton. The matchups and the dates and the times have yet to be determined, obviously, but we'll be the first to bring that to you when that happens. And today's a short show.
Yep.
We're in the regional finals. A lot of our teams have been pared down. It's just the best that are left right now. And as far as our show is concerned, our full support right now is behind the Avon Eagles, and they have a very, very tough task ahead of them against the three-time defending not only Division II but also Division III state champions. I don't think if you lose, you don't technically haven't. I think you can still say defending if you haven't lost, even though you jumped a division. They haven't been Division III.
You weren't defeated in that division.
They were not defeated in that division. They left out on top. So it's a daunting task for Coach Elder and the Eagles, but they've proven quite resilient. So good luck to them. The number 3 seeded Avon Eagles taking on the number 1 seed Archbishop Hoban. That will take place here in Brunswick. There's plenty of parking, plenty of seating.
Ed's selling parking spaces on his lawn. $10 to get you park right next to the tree. I suggest going on the other side of the tree because it tends to lean. We've had some windstorms, but that's just me.
It's a reasonable rate.
Yeah.
So anyone in the area, if you want to see a great football game, come out to Brunswick Friday night to see Avon take on Archbishop Hoban from Akron. All right.
Yeah.
And just a quick reminder about our show. We still got 2 weeks left until the football season is over. We're going to be here recapping what happened down playoff-wise, and then just to give you guys a heads up, we'll be taking a little bit of a break during December, kind of gather our thoughts, spend a little holiday time, and then once the first of the year comes, we're going to get into other sports, specifically hockey. The Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League will be getting down and dirty with them as well, among other sports as we go on, as we start 2019. Very much looking forward to it. Can't wait to celebrate the Fantasy Football Championship with you guys.
See, he drops it in. You're like, I'm not paying attention over here. I'm winning. I'm going to do
That's
it.
fine. Anyone but Sean.
I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it well.
I'll take the field.
There you go.
And until
I would take the field against me, too.
and once again, until I am eliminated, I am still the defending champion.
You're the Hoban of our fantasy league.
Yes.
For
right
now. I
Yeah,
mean, Hope
for now.
did a much better job of.
They moved
Up to
on
the-
after winning.
They haven't lost a game yet. I've lost 6.
That's
So-
all right.
So still hanging on by a thread, but we'll see what happens there. All right, so check us out next Monday. We will recap the state semifinals, set you up for the state championship games taking place in Canton, Ohio. For Sean Duffy, for Josh Jeffy, Rob Troutman out on assignment, I am Ed Dick, live here at Studio J. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you on the other side.